Now, remember how yesterday when we were looking at solids, when I came and I broke the prism on number 15th, I color the top let me call it the same thing, and we call that the base. Right, this is from our notes from yesterday, and there was a second layered, there was a third layered. I'd say there's even a fourth layer. There's a fifth layered. And then at the bottom, we have the base again. We call that prism, because prism is basically top and bottom, that the bases are the same, and everything else are rectangles. But what did we do yesterday when we saw this? We look at the base. To begin with, we said there were 16, right? And then each of them were 16. And we had to add them all, but I mentioned at the end of last lecture, I said, when you add the same thing multiple times, isn't that 16 times 6? Right? Multiplication saves us some work. Okay, so remember we did that. Now, that's really basically the formula for a prism. The volume of a prism, let me just do V for volume. We have to get the area of the base. Isn't that what we did first? We got the area of the base. In this case, the base is a rectangle. In our cases, our base could be a triangle, it could be a pentagon, it could be whatever it is. All right, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do the area of the base, and then we multiply this by the height. Right. You see how the height, it's 6. So in reality, we just went area of the base times the height. So that's the formula we are going to be using for our work today. Let's take a look at this one. Let me remind you guys of the formula. So I'm just going to write the volume of a prism is going to be the area of the base times the height. Keep in mind the big B, I mean a base. So it's the shape. It could be a rectangle. If it's a rectangular prism, it could be a triangle. It could be whatever base it is. And what did I say about bases before? On the prism, for the base, I'm trying to find a shape that is not a rectangle. Because remember, prism are 2 bases and the rest are rectangles. So I'm trying to find a shape that is not a rectangle. However, sometimes the base is a rectangle itself. Looking at question number 16, let's see. What's the base here? Can you find a shape that is not a rectangle? Not necessarily, right? Okay. So in this case, the base is a rectangle itself. When the base is a rectangle, I'm gonna help you out. I'm gonna mark the 4 angles, the 4 90-degree angles of the base. So I see 4 90-degree angles there. So that's the base. What's the area of that base? It's an 11 by 11 rectangle. I know when the two sides are the same, people even call it squared. It's a little more specific name, but yeah, squared is still a rectangle. So 11 by 11. Okay, so I'm just going to call that 121. Yeah, does that make sense? Okay, the base is 121 because I know this side is 11, this side is 11. All the sides were 11, right? What's the height of the prism? The height of the prism is basically the distance between the bases. It is the number that has nothing to do with your bases. Oh, 10. Okay, the height is 10. So I'm going to go the area of the base times the height, 121 times 10. My answer is going to be 1,210. Now, for future reference, in my case, I just care really about the number. That's really all I care about. But for future reference, the area of the base technically was 121 centimeters squared because you multiply centimeters times centimeters. So that's how you got centimeters squared. The height in reality was 10 centimeters. When I multiply the numbers, I get 1,210. But something about the measurement, centimeters squared and centimeters. We can say centimeter to the second and centimeters to the one. When I'm multiplying, letters or measurements, I'm just going to add the exponents. So I will call this centimeters to the third, or some people call it cubic centimeters. Again, I'm just interested in the number. Just 1,210 is fine. But just for future references, this is why volume is to the third. Because on the area of the base, you're going to have your measurement square. But then you still have to multiply by the height, and the height is a measurement as well. When you add the exponents, you get to the third. Okay. If that confused you, that, whoa, the measurement to the third confused me, just ignore it. Just again, I just worry about the number. Let's take a look at number 17. Let's try to see if we can find a shape that is not a rectangle. I do find it. It's a pentagon. You guys can see a pentagon on the top. Interesting. See this right here. Each side of my pentagon is 12. Okay, so I remember I have to go volume is the area of the base times the height. Let me worry about the base. How do we do the area of a pentagon? I remember I used to tell you guys, look at a triangle. Okay, the dotted line is 8.3. The side is 12. And the way we find out the area of a triangle, then we go 12 times 8.3 divided by 2. Okay, that will give me my triangle. But what do I do with the triangle to get the polygon? There's 5 sides. Okay, so I have to multiply my triangle times 5. And all of this is just the area of the base. There is one triangle times 5. So it's the area of the base. And I'm going to say the height is going to be 12. That's this 12. Okay, so let's just multiply this out. 12 times 8.3 divided by 2 times 5 times 12. And I get 2,988. Not bad. Let's take a look at number 18. So reminder, volume is going to be the area of the base times the height. The base is the one shape that is not a rectangle. Can we find a shape that is not a rectangle? Okay, so for the triangle, what do I do for the triangle? I look at the 90-degree angle and I multiply the two numbers that are making the 90-degree angle. So I'm going to go 11 times 4.3 divided by 2. Okay, then I have to multiply this by the height of the shape, the number that has nothing to do with my triangles. Let me emphasize that my triangles, the sides are 6, 8, and 11. So you guys see where I got the 6, the 8, and obviously 11. Which number has nothing to do with my triangles? Okay, so the height of this is 5. So I'm going to go 11 times 4.3 divided by 2. and then times 5, I happen to get 118.3. Okay. In reality, it was like 118.25, but my instruction says round it to the nearest tenth. So tenth is one decimal place. So that's why I call it 118.3. Okay, let's take a look at number 19. Can we find a shape that is not a rectangle? Okay, that's a hexagon. Good. Now in the hexagon, let's get a triangle. Matter of fact, let me do this in blue so we can see that triangle I'm looking at. And I'm gonna say this measurement outside is 9. I got that from here. Okay, so for that hexagon, what do I have to do? Well, first, let me get my triangle. I'm gonna go 9 times 7.8 divided by 2. And then my result, I'm gonna multiply by 6 because there are 6 sides. So that's gonna be my area of my base. Now, I'm gonna multiply this by the height. The number that has nothing to do with my base is 6. So I'm gonna go 9 times 7.8 divided by 2 times 6 times 6. And I get 1,263.6. Let me show you what we did, but let me do emphasize, if we have long decimals, round your answer to the nearest tenth if necessary. Remember number 18, I did round it. Okay, so volume for a prism is the area of the base times the height.